Hello my darlings, how are we doing? And today we're going to talk about tariffs, what they are, why they're there, and why they may or may not affect you. Let's go take a look. So what exactly is a tariff? A tariff is a tax that is imposed by one country to another country that is importing goods and services to that country. So why do we have tariffs? The theory is that this is to protect domestic businesses and industries from foreign competition. So what is the tariff based on? These are a direct percentage amount that is placed by one country to another of the total worth of goods and services being imported. But Blue, isn't that just customs duty? No, it's not. Custom fees are compliance with local laws. Countries have their own laws, own regulations to ensure that imported goods comply with local health, safety and quality standards. Customs duties help enforce these regulations. Individuals who have ordered items from overseas are directly responsible for those fees before receiving their goods and benefiting from the import. And then you'll find, if you're here in the UK, that Royal Mail puts a handling fee on top of that cost at the tune of £8 at the time of filming, which reflects the cost of clearing items through customs as well as presenting them to Border Force. This includes costs for staff, storage, admin, handling through customs and cash handling at the delivery office. One of the things that you will find due to Brexit is that we are now receiving parcels with a notice from Royal Mail here in the UK that says that you cannot have your parcel delivered until you pay a customs fee on it. This never used to happen. It is now happening rather a lot, as a friend of mine who is staying with me right now has just found out just how big some of those custom fees can be. And also a friend of mine tried to send me some stuff from the US and I had ended up paying more than the parcel's worth to get the parcel, back. But it is what it is, and it's what we have to do. So I'm very aware that we're about 3 minutes in and this is really heavy duty information already, and it's about to get worse. I'm just telling you, because I want everybody to understand what is going on and what the effects will be for you and your family for the most part when these tariffs change, okay, from certain countries. So because I don't want it to be a horrible shock, but I also want you to be informed, because there isn't anything to fear except for the lack of knowledge, and a lot of the information can be really hard to take in. It can be as boring as hell, because trust me, I've had to spend all weekend learning it. So, it's not exactly the most fun topic, but once we get through it, I'm hoping that you will have a better understanding of what's going on, so that there is no more panic. Because my video from Sunday, where we were talking about stockpiling tins, but why, and what have you, had a little bit of kickback. The problem is that those who are kicking back don't watch the video for longer than the first 6 minutes, and it was a 50-minute video, okay, which was actually informing people how to buy things better, so they don't need to worry about things like the tariffs and stuff like that, because they're already sorted and they're looking at different places and not just the supermarkets, okay? So, because that's what we do here, is we teach people why not to fear, okay? That there is no panic, there is no paranoia, there's none of that. We want people to be safe, secure and able to look after themselves in a situation where life gets a little bit tougher. And let's be honest, life is pretty tough right now for more than should be of us. Yeah? So every little bit of help helps. And the more knowledge you have, the better informed you are, the less fear there is. Okay? So, let's get into the next bit. Okay, so let's understand tariffs and their impact a little bit more. Tariffs are specific types of custom duties applied to imported or exported goods. Tariff classification and valuation are calculated based on the type of product determined by the HTS codes. These tariff rates can increase the cost of imported products, leading to an increased consumption of domestic products. Now that is actually on a website, a company called WeFreight. Okay, now they are a US company and they're using a term called HTS, which this is what I want to bring up next, what it is. Yeah, and it's also making a statement there is not necessarily true. Okay, because let's be honest, peanut M&Ms are better than Smarties or plain ones. You know, our version of Smarties are a little chocolate button with a candy coating, right? And that's kind of like a plain M&M, only ours are a little bit bigger. Okay, but you know, you stick a peanut in there and that becomes an M&M. They're better than Smarties, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, they are, let's be fair. If you like a product, you're gonna buy it. You know, we know that. It doesn't matter where it comes from, what company makes it. The chances are that you're going to buy the product because you like the product. Whether you're, you know, wherever in the world, you see something you recognise, you rather go for that. It's just what we do as human beings. So yes, in some instances it may cause people to use more domestic options when it comes to goods and services, but in many cases it may not do that at all. And if that goods or service is not available in your country, then you're going to have to look elsewhere for it. Let's be honest. Okay, so what is an HTS code? Now, HTS stands for Harmonized Tariff Schedule, a classification system used in the United States to help determine customs duties to be paid on imports. HTS codes are 10 digits. First 6 digits are the same as the HS code for the goods. The HTS is published by the US International Trade Commission, ITC. HTS codes allow you to estimate duties you will be expected to pay on the shipment when it enters the US. Okay, so that's to do with exporters, and exporters from our side, importers to their side. Okay, so that's what an HTS is. It's the Harmonized Tariff Schedule that is, you know, basically a tariff schedule that is done in the US. There you go. So who actually pays the tariff fee? Is it the country? No, it's not. It's not the government that pays it at all. It's the importers. Okay? It is the importers of the outside countries that are, you know, paying the fees, and the exporters from the outside country that is sending things to your country. Okay? So the exporters pay it to the importers pay it to their local government, and then all those fees are totted up and put on top of the cost of your product, as well as handling fees, customs, excises, duties, and all of that kind of rubbish as well. It's all just ridiculous, and we're just going to have a look at how ridiculous it can get. So say, for example, you are used to paying, say, 32p for a can of beans. Why? Because you've got the cost of the beans, you've got cost of the steel, you've got the cost of, manufacturing that steel from more raw materials, turning it into usable rolled steel. So there's more manufacturing involved, there's more processing involved. So that's already 1, 2, 3 stages, 4 stages. Plus you've got, then it's got to be made into tins. So that's another stage. It's probably got to be coated by another company. So that's another one. Then you might get printing on the tin, etc, etc, etc. So you might have 10 stages. Now let's have a look at this. Okay, so say for example the raw material to make the tin can, right? Say we have it here in the UK. The government's just announced it's setting up steelworks again. It's going to be nationalised, blah 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 blah, what have you. But we're going to charge £1. For my sanity's sake, more than anything, we're going to go there with its raw materials are going to cost £1. Now, because the steel industry moved to India, we now have to pay export and import tariffs. Well, we've got to pay export duties, but we've got to pay import tariffs to India. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, that everybody in the world, their tariff is a flat rate of 10%. Okay? We're going to do it that way because I want to live through this. Okay? And I don't want my brain to explode, if that's okay with you. Right? So, we've gone from the UK to India. And now they've wanted their 10% import fee. So that £1, okay, has turned that product. Okay, well, we're not going to talk about manufacturing fees or anything like that. Right now, we're just turning into what that is worth, right? So you've gone from £1 to £1.10. Because 10% of £1 is 10, right? So that's now gone up to 10. Now from India, that's being sent out to a company in China, which will roll out the steel or the tin or whatever it is, right? Okay, it's going to roll out the metal to produce that tin so it can be made into tins, right? And go on to the next stage. But they want their 10% because it's got to go from India to China. So now you're at £1, 21 pence. Okay, that £1 is now worth £1.21, right? And like I said, we are not including manufacturing costs or anything like that at the moment. We are just looking at the raw materials, okay, and what that will cost. So they're from China. It's being moved to the States because that's where they, make the tin cans, okay? So that's going for another 10%. So now we've gone from £1.21. They're going to want 10% of that. So that's £1.32. No, 33. £1.33. No, hang on. I'm going to have to get my brain. Seriously, I'm trying. I'm doing my best here. Okay, so £1.21 divided by 10 equals... No, I've screwed it up. Hang on. Hold, please. Okay, so 10% of £1.21 is 0.121, which now makes our £1 product £1.33, right? Okay, or 331 or whatever you want to call it. We've got it as 331. Okay. So next, that now has become a tin can, which needs to come back to the UK to do its thing, right? Okay, or it's being. We're just gonna, just gonna say it's coming straight back. Okay, we'll do all the spraying and stuff here. Okay, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna bring it back to the UK so it can be filled up with your lovely beanies, right? So now we have to they have to pay us 10%. Okay, so we're gonna divide that £1 to 33 by 10%. That makes 0.133. which will be then added to £1.33, which now makes it £1.46. 3, 1. Okay. There is a cumulative effect that is happening here because we no longer do much of the manufacturing of our own food types and preserved food in this country. A lot of it has to be done overseas. And as much as we are 68% self-sufficient for vegetables, etc. in this country, or food in this country, we only supply and eat 17% of it, of food grown in this country and produced in this country. But when it comes to things like tins, jars, stuff like that, much of it isn't produced here. Much of it is produced overseas, especially the lids and stuff like that becomes a little bit more expensive. So what does that mean for your tin of beans? Well, that means that those prices are going to go up. Tinned foods in general, the prices will go up because they will find the reason for it to go up, as we saw when inflation rose, and a bag of rice went from 23p to almost 80 something pence because the cumulative effect of buying in the rice, the guy who shells the rice, husks the rice, the manufacturers who make the plastic bag it goes in, printers, etc., they all want their 11%. So then it goes 11. It's no longer 11%. By the time it reaches supermarkets, it's 80, 90. In some cases, it was 100 and 120% rises. But that's what all of the fuss is about and the concern. So for the most part, the biggest import percentages for the UK from the US, which is what is going to cost us the most issue. Machinery and transport equipment. This category includes vehicles, aircraft and other mechanical equipment, representing a substantial portion of the UK's imports from the US. Fuel. The UK imports various types of fuel, including crude petroleum gas from the US. Chemicals, including medicinal and pharmaceutical products, are another major import category. Cars, automobiles from the US are a significant component of the UK's import mix. Other notable imports. The UK also imports items like scientific instruments and aircraft. Okay. What we also do is we import food. Now, most of those other things aren't going to directly affect the average person except for maybe the fuel and possibly car parts, brand new parts. Okay, that could be an issue. When it comes to medicine, most of it is covered by the NHS, and our prescription fees, if we are on the lower income, are normally £9. Okay, or they're picked up and they're around £9 each, so it's not as bad. Okay, it's still bad, it's not great. Okay, but most of us don't need to worry about stuff, especially like scientific instruments and stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, but the only thing scientific I've got in my house is really the cooker, and I'm not sure that counts. Anywho, specific food items that we do import: wine and related products, which apparently is significant. Tree nuts, so almonds, massive over here. Prepared foods includes a wide range of processed and packaged foods. Distilled spirits, so bye Jack Daniels, I don't know, maybe. Meat, hormone-free beef and pork products are also a popular import. Organic products, so vinegar, fresh apples, fresh peas, roasted coffee are among the top organic imports. Snacks, canned foods, sauces and ready meals. These cater to the diverse tastes of the UK consumers. Now this is the issue. A lot of our tinned products is actually tinned in the US. Packaged in tins in the US. And therein lies the issue, because most of our food banks are run on canned foods and packaged foods. They're not run on fresh foods. And, you know, when you live in a country where, you know, between 3,000 and 5,000 new food banks have had to open up in the last 10 years because of demand being so significant, it's a real issue. Because those food banks are already struggling, they're going to be struggling even more, because A, they may not have the donations or the material financial capacity to purchase more tins or packaged goods, or people won't be able to afford to donate to them as much as they did, you know, and that's the issue. Breakfast cereals and snacks. Products from companies like Kellogg's are popular in the UK. Yeah, they are. Really popular. And the thing is that Kellogg's also supply a lot of the other black brands, especially like the own brand stuff. So, yeah. Ketchup, baked beans and canned goods. They're also imported from the US. Shocking. So when I talk about your baked beans, I'm not kidding. Chocolate bars and sweets, we all know about them, you know. Cake mixes and desserts. Products from Duncan Hines are also imported. Now, it may not say Duncan Hines on the front of the packet, but it will say it on the back. You know. Aunt Bessie's might be from here. But, you know, Mrs. What's-It with her frosting certainly ain't. Fruits and vegetables, fresh and processed, especially those not readily available in the UK year-round. So your avocados. That's a big one. Okay. We're also net importer of beef and dairy. Okay. Reflecting consumer preferences for higher value products. Fresh vegetables and fresh fruit are heavily reliant on imports, with the UK producing a smaller percentage of these domestically. Yeah. UK, yep. So, there you go. That's why people are concerned. That is why people are being told to, if you can buy some more cans, buy some more cans. Get them in while they're cheap, basically. That's why I did the video I did on Sunday about stockpiling tins. Now, one of the concerns that people had, and one of the questions that was raised was, oh, it's the Daily Star. Let's talk about that. When it comes down to newspapers, they're written in certain ways for certain people, certain classes of people, certain people with different interests. Okay? Someone who has grown up on a council estate is very rarely going to get a copy of the Times. It's not relevant to them. They don't care. None of their business as far as they're concerned. It's only the toffs that really read the Times. And if you read the Times, there's something wrong with you. Or you must have a really big budgie. One or the other. But, you know. So, people who are in a situation, who are considered working class or living in poverty, are seen by the media as people who want distraction. They're more interested in who won at the football. They're more concerned with who's wearing what, who's dating who, you know, than they are interested in, you know, what the footsie's doing this year or today, you know, or, you know, that kind of thing. Or doing the Times crossword. There's not many people that I know who are interested in the Times crossword. The other thing is cost. Why pay £1 for a newspaper when you can get one for 50p? Now, most of the newspapers are more popular in council estate areas, cost around 50p. They're full of sports, gossip, celebrity fashion, the occasional recipe, definitely horoscopes, and they are horoscopes. You know, but it's all neither here nor there, and that paper gets reused to either, you know, set light to things like, you know, the wood fire or the fire pit out the back. It's put in the hamster cage or underneath the budgie, and you know, who's going to pay a lot of money for that? We know they don't really care, but they can at least say they got a newspaper, right? And that's fine. So when you find the odd, you know, article in a newspaper like that, so for example the article that I showed you on Sunday, you have to think, why are they doing it? And why the Daily Star? Now there's two reasons they will do that. One, it's a bit of a fear-mongering tactic, which it's, let's be honest, it's everywhere, okay? It's everywhere at the moment. However, most people who are living in that kind of situation and reading the Daily Star don't care. They really just don't care. But if they do see something like that, it gives them a little bit of a heads up that things are about to change and not in a good way. So it gives them the opportunity that over the next 90 days, or probably 80 days at this point since it was all announced, I don't know, but it's around that, to be putting a little bit aside to get a few extra bits in before the prices go up. Before the panic buying starts by those who have money. It's so that they have a small stockpile and can get the odd extra tin here and there so that they can actually feed their families for a little bit longer on a little bit less. So they can have a little bit more. And that's why they do it. So you can say what you like about the media and it comes from this tabloid or it comes from that tabloid, but I'll tell you for now, there is a specific paper in the US that is all about my cousin was kidnapped by an alien, that if they ran a story like that, everyone would go, oh no, it's tinfoil hat theory. However, the people reading it would actually take it for what it is. And be like, hang on, we haven't seen it. They don't put stuff like this in our paper. Why is this here? And the reason is they're giving people a heads up that things are about to get tougher, and to do what you can to make that less tough on yourself and your family. So if you've reached this part of the video, I just want to hope that you guys are a little bit more informed, understand a little bit more about the tariffs, why they are putting them, why it's all happening, the effect it will have for us, what some of the terms they're using mean, and so that you and your family can be better prepared and not living in fear. Okay? Because that's our goal here. That's my goal here, is to inform those who aren't necessarily going to be as informed as others, who don't really get it, who can't do the research, and give it over to you in a way that the everyday person will understand. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Pop down in the comments your thoughts. I'm cool with that. If you want any more Everyman's Guides to whatever is happening right now, you know, that may affect you and yours, or that the government's come out and made some kind of comment or speculation, or you've seen something in the paper, or your sister's mother's girlfriend's auntie's best friends from college 57 years ago's third cousin twice removed said, let me know. Chuck us an email, you know, and I'll see what I can do. So until then, have an awesome rest of your day. Be prepared, not paranoid, because that is the best way to be. And let's not let these idiots scare us to death, right? We're better than that. Take it easy, guys. Love you heaps. Bye.